Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever the fuck you are today. I'm Dr. Evil Genius, hosting the Talking Shit podcast today, episode 3, Dr. Evil Flies Solo-Dolo. All right, so I had planned to do this episode yesterday. That was the plan. But then, I don't know, been a little bit less motivated, as I'm sure many people can relate to. And I was like, I don't really want to force it. But in wanting to get this episode done, I decided to watch 2 live streams instead. One of them wasn't live. I think it was a pre-recorded podcast by by a content creator by the name of Tasha K. I think her channel is something like Unwind with Tasha K or something. She was the one that published the expose on the King Panda Bear himself, Derek Jackson. So when Derek Jackson, for those of you who don't know, Derek Jackson made millions of dollars, I think upwards of $2 million per year, pandering to black women. And hold on, I gotta moderate the chat because it seems as though we've got some issues with. I have to set up one of these things here. One of these bots. I gotta set up one of these bots. But for right now, I guess, blocks and bans all around. Don't got time for the bullshit. All right. So anyway, moving right along. So Derek Jackson, the King Panda Bear, he basically made millions of dollars, I think, to the tune of something like $2 or more million a year, selling black women on the notion that other black men, not him, but other black men are the bad people. He's the good people. And black men should be more like him. And then Tasha K produced the expose. Bars. She came with the receipts from several different women claiming to be examples of why Derek Jackson is not who he purported himself to be, which is not surprising in today's society. A lot of what's going on in the media is about clout. It's about persona. It's about what you project to the world rather than who you are as a human being. So, no, I'm gonna. If I'm really thinking about it, I was a little bit on the surprise side that that Derek Jackson was a complete fucking fraud. I'm a little surprised. But I think that Tasha K really seemed to be like a, how do I say, like a hero to the black women. I think her gang, or the people that, I don't know, follow her, I think they call themselves winos, which yeah, I'm not going to say that, wow, that's That's something to, you know, yeah, I don't know. And the weird thing is she doesn't even drink wine like that. So I find that to just be just very, very weird. But Tasha K, she was the one that outed Derek Jackson as the fucking fraud that he is. And that caused an avalanche of more exposés. I watched this one video of this guy who he does he does the analysis on body language, and he basically just put it out there. This dude is a fucking narcissist. This guy has not felt a genuine emotion in many, many years. And I guess there are a lot of people out like that in the world. But for him to make millions of dollars shitting on black men, I mean, holy crap. So she, a lot of people, especially black women, were very, very upset when they found out that their god, Derek Jackson, who called them goddesses and queens and all of this stuff. I mean, we're talking about pander on the highest level. And they found out that he was a fucking fraud. So the first thing they tried to do is say, well, Tasha K, we need you to get the tea, to spill the tea on our purported arch enemy, Kevin Samuels. We need you to get, the expose going, because if our pander bear that we clutched as we went to sleep at night to feel better about the fact that we're alone, or if we're not alone, we are being kept company by several kids, by several different men who did not want to stick around. We lost our pander bear. So we need, if you're going to remove our stuffed animal, our, 6'4", 225 pounds of muscle, stuffed animal who is stuffed with shit, full of shit, then we need you to also get rid of the monster that's lurking under our beds, the 6'4", who we swear is 5'4", the guy who we swear is gay because he dares to criticize us, Kevin Samuels. So one of the things that a lot of people wanted Derek Jackson to do was own up. Tasha K is producing these receipts. Why don't you take some of those, take a small sliver of your millions of dollars, and go on down to Atlanta, have a seat, talk with Tasha K to clear all this shit up. What did he do? He made the woman that he already embarrassed look even worse. I mean, had her with, her sad bags, because I'm just going to put it out there. Her titties look sad as fuck. He had her out there with her sad bags, unbridled, wearing a fucking, fatigue with the beret. I mean, he made her look as mentally ill as he is. I mean, whoa. I mean, holy fuck. I mean, he made sure she looked ultra ordinary. She looked extra ordinary. I don't know what the fuck he thought he was doing, but he could not have made that woman look any worse. So R.I.P. To her, because she didn't deserve that. So a lot of people felt like Derek Jackson should have got out ahead of it instead of making his wife look like a fucking idiot. And that's not what he did. So people started hunting for things. It's like, well, we, our fallen stuffed animal, our teddy bear, our pander bear, Derek Jackson is no more. So we need to go out. Somebody had the receipts on Action Jackson. So we need to go out there looking for receipts on Kevin Samuels. And they went looking and they couldn't find really anything of consequence. So what did they do? They went back to old divorce records from 17 years ago. They went back to what he looked like at a spirit rally party. They see what he looks like as some sort of what do you call those Greek fraternity? Yeah, the Greek fraternity meeting. Him taking a picture with a jacket representing. That's what they found on Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels doesn't look like the typical alpha male. Okay. And? Oh, Kevin Samuels was in the band and then the student council. So we're going to type this up on our computational machine, our little social calculator. And we've deduced that he's a homosexual. Well, where did you get this from? Well, he was in the band and he likes to meet people and he's into fashion and he wants to be successful in life. And he's leaning against a tree in his yearbook photo. So we added all of that together. Computations. Ching! Out comes a homosexual. How they made that happen? Not really quite sure. Not really quite sure how they did that math. So how did Kevin respond to all of this? He didn't. Which is a boss ass move. Years ago, if I was in Kevin's position, I would have gone on my show guns fucking blazing. But I think it's a lesson for a lot of us men on what looks like masculinity and what is masculinity. And, I find it kind of funny that these women look for anything they could to try to tear this man down. You had this fake doctor, I don't know where the fuck he got his degree from, calling a whole bunch of people in the manosphere betas, as if him just calling them betas makes them betas. When he has a history of pandering, but even worse, pandering to facilitate his scamming. So we're not going to mention any names here because that person does not deserve to have their name mentioned. But know that he is out there. And he's throwing out barbs and he's trying to strap himself in to the vacated hole between second and third base because Derek Jackson was benched. So you have all of these people who want to challenge the manhood, challenge the masculinity of a man who he's not gonna clap back because he understands that the message gets out further if you keep steering it away from the ad hominem and you keep going back to the subject and stick to the subject. That is something that has helped me in so many debates. Stick to the motherfucking subject. When they want to start calling you names and, okay, but what does that have to do with the fuck we're talking about? If you think that a yearbook photo and me being the lead in the marching band for me being the lead, trumpet soloist, if those things make me gay, okay, let's say that I am. Can you refute what the fuck I'm saying? Stick to the fucking subject. Because all the you calling me gay doesn't really mean anything, because I'm still not attracted to men. I'm still not going to have sex with men. I'm still going to have relations with the so-called pick-me's. Because it's funny how they want to call Kevin gay, but also want to tear down the women who are looking to get his attention. You know what I mean? Blind Bat with the sage comment here. A real man never has to prove he's a man. The only thing that you have to do as a man is stick to your purpose. Kevin Samuels found his purpose later on in life, and he's sticking to it. He's not going on other people's platforms and warring with this one and warring with that one. He doesn't need to, because the platform that he stands on is solid. It's got a solid foundation. The work he's done speaks for itself, which leads me to one of the things that they tried to pin on him. They went back and found a divorce proceeding from 17 years ago. And they say, well, it showed that he made about $11,000 or $11,500 a year 17 years ago. And because his wife made 2.5 times what he made in 2005, 2006, or whatever year that was, that eliminates him from the conversation, eliminates him from being able to talk about what a high value man is, because he struggled 17 years ago. And, we're going to say that he's gay, but we're also going to talk about the 2 marriages to women, of which at least one child was produced. And we're going to say all of these things in the same sentence. He's gay. He's got 2 failed marriages to 2 women. What? Huh? What? Do you even fucking hear yourself when you talk? It really shows me that these people don't even believe what they purport themselves to believe. But I digress. They point to 17 years ago, and Kevin has made it very clear of the 6 bullet points of what constitutes what a high value man is on the money side of it. He said you can't have 1 or 2 good years making $10,000 a month or more. You have to show 3 to 5 years or more to be considered in the running for being a high value man. So they say, well, Kevin Samuels, he struggled 17 years ago. This is your high value man? Can you do math, bitch? 17 years against 5 years. Can you go back and prove that he was making $11,500 in 2016? No? So what the fuck are you talking about? None of your arguments hold any water whatsoever. And it doesn't appear to me that you even fucking care. What you're mad about is the fact that he's calling you on your shit. That's why you're mad. And when the gun is finally pointed at you for the first time in modern society, when you've been bucking off at all kinds of people for years, This is all you got? Kevin Samuels sat up on his live stream and had a conversation with a therapist, a black woman, someone who was supposed to be able to help black women heal. And she was trying to argue the point for why black women don't smile at black men. But he's gay? If he's so gay, why doesn't he have men up there talking about they should be smiling at men? Because he's not gay. And I think that y'all know it. But you guys will pull out anything you can to try to shift the subject away. You want to take that burning hot lamp and point it in another direction because it's too fucking bright. You're not used to it. A therapist was trying to make excuses for why black women should be given a pass. Why they should treat black men worse than every other race on the planet treats their men. And then when the black man says, you know what? I don't need to get this treatment from the rest of the world and get it from you. And there's this woman over here who doesn't quite look like you or me. And I get better treatment when I come home from fighting the world. I don't also have to fight with the woman that lays next to me in my bed that I paid for. Now I hate my mother. Now I hate myself. I love that little acronym that Kevin Samuels coined. SIGN. Sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. When a black man says, you know what? I went with this woman not because she's white, not because she's Hispanic, not because she's Asian, but because I like the way that she made me feel. Here comes the shame. Here comes the insults. The need to be right. Why do I mention the need to be right? Because when a black man expresses that he doesn't like the way he's treated, she can't let that stand because she doesn't really have a counter for such an argument. So to make herself right, she just had to call him a traitor. She has to say that he's a self-loather. No, I'm right. You're supposed to like the way you're treated. All the other races of men accept the way that the way their women treat you. Have to accept the way we're treating you, and that's right. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine if you believe those things. It's fine if. But what are your outcomes? In the end, what comes from that? You can say who I'm supposed to be with. That's your right. It's like I learned that it's everybody's right to make any kind of assessment that they want to make on anybody they want. But what they don't have the right to do is to dictate reality. That reality stone is still going to do what it do, baby. So I watched all of these women during the interview that Tasha K had with Kevin Samuels because he's a real fucking man. He's going to come and he's going to answer the fucking questions. And I just watched the comment sections periodically just to see what the winos were saying. And none of the shit they had to say made any sense. A lot of them straight up admitted to the cognitive dissonance. They were mad at her for doing the interview. They were mad. Oh, you're just throwing out fluff, you know, you're throwing out fluff. You're not really asking him any tough questions. And he's looking her right in the face saying, yeah, so, yeah, I struggled 17 years ago. Yes, I have 2 failed marriages. Yes, I have an adult child. No, I'm not gay. What the fuck else do you want him to answer to? Because that's all the fuck that's all you had. But right after Tasha, and this dude is a fucking media genius. As soon as Tasha's stream ended, he was gearing up to start his. And you know how he opened up his stream last night? He opened up his stream in a monologue. And what he was holding in his hand was his 1987 high school yearbook. The same one where people were like, oh, look at him. Oh, look. He even had a religious Narsagram account where they're supposed to be holier than thou, making fun of a high school photo. So you know what he did? He brought the whole fucking yearbook and put the fucking yearbook in the fucking camera. Yes, this is what the fuck I look like. And what else you got? And it reminds me of the lesson that I got from the film 8 Mile. 8 Mile, 8 Mile was a film that I really enjoyed watching for several reasons. Some of them personal, who I was watching the movie with. Know what I mean? But the overarching lesson that I learned from 8 Mile happens when B Rabbit goes up against Papa Doc at the end, aka Clarence. Your real name is Clarence. B Rabbit had a choice to make. Does he go last? Does he go first? And if he chooses to go first, how does he handle the battle? They put a gun in his face. They fucked his girl. I mean, they ran through his girl. I mean, he probably should have known that she was kind of a thought because he smashed it like on top of a machine in a factory. So, but I digress. They jumped him. They put a gun in his face. They made fun of the trailer he lived in. So he said, you know what? I'm going to go up there. I'm going to strip butt ass naked. Verbally. I'm going to strip my soul butt ass naked. Because you think you're going to expose me? No. I'll expose myself. And then when I take away all your talking points, then I'm going to destroy you. See, you wanted to act like you super gangster, you this, that, and the third. But in reality, you live on the rich side of town where they wear polo shirts and cashmere sweaters. Oh, and Papa Doc, your real name is Clarence. And we're supposed to think that you're tough? Yeah. It took a whole bunch of y'all to shove a gun in my face. None of y'all came to see me one-on-one. What was left for Papa Doc to say? Because when he went ruminating through his mind, what happened? He had nothing for him. He walks off the stage, and, the rest is fictional history. So when I watch people do these kinds of things in real life, like what Kevin Samuels did last night, I'm just like, yo, this dude is just adding to the legend. it was just legendary. So I spent most of my evening absorbing that, and it really did teach me some valuable lessons on how to continue in my journey going through media. As you guys know, I've been hosting a show on a different platform. For almost a year. So I've been doing this media thing for a little while. But to elevate myself to where I want to be, there are little things that I need to know about how I move as a content creator, as a talking head, a pundit, whatever it is that you want to call it. And so I did get a valuable lesson. And somebody very close to me, somebody that I admire, somebody who I go to for support, told me to stop giving information to people because they can use it to destroy you. And my response was, if I freely give out this information to the world, what the fuck can they do to me at that point? What can they expose? How can they expose what my dick size is like if I just took off all my clothes and just showed everybody? Okay, now what are you going to say? So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a story. I had a conversation with somebody very close to me a couple days ago. And as soon as I mentioned KS, Kevin Samuels, they automatically stopped listening. I didn't even get to finish 30% of my sentence when, don't want to hear it. Why? Why don't you want to hear it? Well, my synopsis of him is what I've heard through other people. I haven't watched any of his content. I don't really know exactly what he's saying, but I heard from other sources what they interpreted from what he said, and that's why I don't want to hear anything that he's saying, because I heard other people's opinions. When I got a chance to slow this person down, it turns out, just like Kevin said last night, even your heaviest detractors are going to agree with you 80% of the way. And that turned out to be the case. And I talk, and when we were talking, I think Kevin was saying that black people, there's some website for that has a bunch of statistics on black people in America. I forget what the website is. And he was saying that black men with a bachelor's degree or higher, somewhere around 30% of them are marrying out. And that's of the men who choose to marry, because if you've got a bachelor's degree as a black man, that means you're not a fucking idiot. And if you're looking at the landscape, the social landscape, if you've been paying attention, getting married is really not a smart option. And we'll get into that in future iterations of the Talking Shit podcast. So, if 30% of the men that are willing to marry, because black men marry black women at an 87% clip. So that means 87 out of every 100. Only 13 black men out of every 100 is going to marry out overall. But the percentage shrinks drastically among educated black men. I don't think that I have to make it that obvious what that implies. So, if you're having more and more of these black men who are educated leaving, wouldn't it be your priority to try to stop the bleeding? Maybe keep that number at 30%. Maybe shrink that tumor down to 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Wouldn't that behoove you to try to do something about it? Or are you just going to keep trying to shame and guilt black men into dealing with you? Oh, and when they deal with you, do they get any kind of self-improvement? No. I'm going to bring my obese body. I'm going to bring my fake eyelashes and fake nails. I'm going to bring my neck that bends 37 different ways when I talk because I don't have any respect for you. And you better just take it. When I reminded my friend of this and talked about how when we were homeless and we used to walk around the streets and we were acutely aware of how invisible we were to all women, including black women. I had to remind him of that. I had to remind him of conversations that we had in the past where we decried, we lamented about the pressure we both face because neither of us had black partners at the time. And it's not like we don't have the desire to have black partners. You know, he's more of a monogamist. The love of his life was a black woman. Someone that most people would categorize as a strong black woman. My first love was a feminine black woman. You know, as a non-monogamist, women that I've tried to date in the recent past, I've tried. I really have. But I understand that there's pressure on me as a black man because when I go out with my ladies, and yes, I'm one of those guys. One of my partners is Hispanic, as you saw. She helped co-host the Filthy Casual MMA watch party, which you can find the second iteration of that coming up this coming Saturday. Stay tuned for more details on that. I have a Hispanic partner. I have an Asian partner. I mean, if you want to talk about a race traitor, man, better court-martial me right now. And every time I see the attitude, every time I see the cognitive dissonance, every time I see the backlash against strong black men who are just trying to help black women, I feel a little bit less and less guilty. All the while still trying to make connections with black women. I still do. My latest attempt, because you know I'm on some of the apps, because where I live, see, this is not Miami, where Fresh and Fit podcast is, where it's not a social felony to approach a woman cold. It's not a social felony down there. When I went to Miami, I was shocked by the body language of the women there. Absolutely shocked. But I live in New York. Okay? It is a social crime to approach a woman. That makes you a misogynist. That makes you a sexual predator, rapist, whatever. Just the way it is. And it really doesn't matter what you look like because, I mean, look at me. I'm not an ugly guy. I used to be. Granted, I'm not an ugly guy. So, I've seen even better guys than me get slapped with the tag just for saying hello. So, the environment in Miami and the environment in New York is different. It's just the way it is. But I found that it's safer to use the apps. Because if I know why I'm there, you know why you're there, you know why I'm there, I know why you're there. If we're matching up, then there is no mistake that there is interest there. So if I make a move to let you know that I'm interested, you can't then slap me with the hashtag. The I as well hashtag. You can't hashtag me. It doesn't work. Because we both know why we were there on the app. I matched with a woman that I was not really into on a physical level. I'd probably say, she was very average. I hate fake hair. I really do. But I accepted it. I was just like, I'm just going to see if she's cool. I make the match. She replies. Her opening message is dry. But I don't put that kind of pressure on people. I know it's hard to meet people. It's hard to start conversations. For both men and women, by the way. I know how difficult it is. So I'm not going to judge her on that. But as the conversation continued, I think I was kind of leading her to opening up the conversation by saying, yeah, I'm working on this important project that I just launched, and I'm looking to see that through to fruition. And her response was, that's awesome. I waited a day. No follow-up to, that's awesome. I waited another day. I looked at it again, a third day. And then I looked at the entire conversation and said, wow. She really is as boring as she looked in her profile. So even though she had them tig-o bitties, I just unmatched. A time before that, I had like a FaceTime back and forth with a young, attractive black woman who did not share a lot of my views on society, but I let that shit slide. I'm very pro legal drug use as long as you don't affect me with it, but I was still willing to consider her, even though she's massive weed head. Here I am trying to make concessions in areas that are extremely important to me. And when I mentioned a New York Post article where a private school wanted to ban the use of the words mom and dad because it's gendered language. Because men can have babies too. Men can get pregnant. Women can get men pregnant. And I'm like, this is some absurd shit. What I got was sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, the need to be right. Thank you, Kevin, for that. I'm stealing it, Kevin. It just rolls right off the fucking tongue. What the fuck you want from me? I'm just talking shit, man. I'm just talking shit. She cut me off because I said that a particular protected group does not have the right to dictate the perceptions of other people. They only have the right to dictate their perceptions of the world and themselves. But they didn't have the right to decide for other people what they see when they view the world. We agreed on that particular subject, probably 99%. But for her, that was not enough. And it was clear to me, I just wasn't in. I just wasn't into it. I wasn't into the ideology, but I was willing to let her express herself and be her and her level, and then bond with her in areas that I could, which we bonded on a lot of different subjects. But here I was making concessions on things that were super important to me. I don't want narcotics in my body. I don't want to share bodily fluids with women that put that stuff in their body. But you know what? I'm willing to at least see who you are before making the final determination and just cutting you off. Because what if I'm cutting off something that is potentially wonderful? What if I'm doing that? But when I say to her that one person doesn't have the right to reach across the other person's boundaries, they don't have a right to reach across their line and tell them how to think and feel. Oh, yeah, you know, I can't have anybody like you in my circle. I can't talk to you. You can add me on social media. You can follow me on social media, yeah. You could give me attention. But, you know, I'm going to go back to all my friends about how I just rejected this guy I was really into because, you know, he doesn't support the right to infringe on other people's rights. I'm going to be on the right side of history. You know, the need to be right. When my wife heard the whole, she tried to hit me with the incentive too. You know, when you change your opinion, you know, hit me up and we can pick up where we left off. She's going to dangle them big ass titties in my face and say, you know, you should come over to our side. Oh yeah, I converted another one. When my wife heard about that, she was like, even if you did change your opinion on it, never call her back. I mean, really? Really? And when I called her out on her being the type of person to abandon somebody, that's not what I'm doing. You know, I have the right to curate, but I don't have the right to see the world through my own fucking eyes. And I've got story after story after story on this level. It's not like we're not trying. A lot of these black men that you see walking around with white women that have their own hair and no fake body parts and no bad attitude. A lot of those men didn't actually say, well, fuck black women, I'm not going to deal with them anymore. No, they were still open to dating black women. And then somebody started treating them in a way that was healthy, that they enjoyed, that they liked. And so they went where the good feeling was and then stayed there. That's what happened. They didn't say, she's dark skinned or she's this or she's too educated. She's too successful. Holy fuck, man. Holy fuck. But when I reminded my friend of all of these things, then he started listening. It's like we do live in the same universe, do we not? Like, Can we not acknowledge the shared experience that we all know is there? Why do we feel the need to continue to pretend as if we aren't experiencing what we're experiencing, and then as we're experiencing it in full view of other people, that they can't testify to what they witnessed? I mean, think about that. There are a lot of times I see really attractive black women, but it's like, oh, there goes the fake hair. Oh, there goes the makeup. Oh, there goes the filter. I'm going to have a whole episode about the phoniness of the modern woman. I'm going to go in, and you can't stop me because I'm talking my shit. There's really nothing you can do about it. But we're going to go in. We're going to go in on all the dishonesty, the false projections of persona. Yeah, we're going to go there. So, watching last night's live stream just reaffirmed for me. It just reaffirmed for me everything that I thought. It was also pretty funny. One of the things that was that I heard from someone close to me is, how these people are just following him like he's the Pied Piper. No. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Kevin Samuels is not telling black men what to think and feel. He is the mouthpiece for black men for how we've already felt. But we already know that for some of us to have something to lose, if you speak out on these issues, here comes the calls for cancellation by the same people who claim that there is no such thing as cancel culture. And then the next word out of their mouth when you say something they don't agree with, that they take personally, when it's just a general statement of fact, then they use the word cancel, while also saying that cancel culture doesn't really exist. The woman that I was talking to for a month that I told you about, yeah, she told me that cancel culture isn't real. Okay. All right. So it's just crazy how we can say the things that we feel like we need to say for years and years. There are whispers, right? That one guy at work that nobody's officially reported this guy. Nobody's come out in public and said this guy did this or that. But there are rumors that swirl around in break rooms and back rooms and mail rooms. And, black men have been whispering these things where it's an open secret that there are certain things that turn us off from getting into situations with modern black women. And I want to make it clear that I'm still going to keep trying. But as far as how I view the current state of affairs, I'm going to now say out loud what I've been whispering for a long time inside my own head in personal conversations with other black men who are worth a damn. I wasn't always worth a damn. I am now. And the men that I know, the black men that I am in contact with, they're also worth a damn. They all say the same thing. They've been saying the same thing since before they heard of Kevin Samuels. We've been saying it for years. So while y'all throwing all that hate at Kevin, maybe you might want to try asking the rest of us. You know, mediocre tutorials and reviews, shout out to that brother. Although, yo, that title is mad long. That title is so long that you stop pronouncing the word mediocre properly because the title is so long. But shout out to MTR. He put up a video 2 weeks ago talking about how us black men that didn't act like thugs, gangsters, niggas. If you weren't acting like that in your teenage years, in your 20s, and instead of wanting to go out and sell drugs, you wanted to, like, I don't know, play sports. You wanted to be an artist, watch anime, listen to other genres of music other than gangster rap. Shout out to Coheed and Cambria, as y'all already know. That's the type of time I'm always on. You're a cornball. When I was in high school, they tried to pin a derogatory nickname on me. Corny white boy. That's what they tried to pin on me. Why? Because I spoke English like someone with some goddamn sense. Because whenever the teacher would pass out the test papers, everybody knew Dr. Evil got a 95, a 98, 100, 102, 107, 110. Yeah, I was nailing all the extra credit stuff that the teacher put on the test because most of the kids weren't paying attention in class. So to help them get a chance at a passing grade, they put extra questions on the test that they would only count if they were answered correctly. I was knocking out the regular questions and the bonus. And I wasn't ashamed that I wasn't a fucking idiot. Corny white boy. When I first went on YouTube, I started doing YouTube about 8.5 years ago. Somewhere in that range. Before I did the face reveal, people assumed I was white. And that's fine. That's fine. I knew it was going to happen like that. It was a little bit of a running joke. It's cool. But why is it that these same women that made fun of me, they see me at age 22 with my brand new girlfriend, who was, you know, the attractive kind of thick, wearing a bright green skirt, legs looking, face looking super pretty, everything tight and in place. She didn't have to like struggle to put everything in its place to, well, I wear it well. She didn't have to do any of that. And the same chicks that would laugh at me would do everything from throwing dirty looks from across the street, walking in the opposite direction, to talking really loud in the subway about how, you know, they're ready to fight her because she's with me. But I thought I wasn't black enough. I thought I wasn't man enough for you. So why the fuck do you care? And then these chicks get ran through. These chicks get ran through by all the niggas that hang out in front of the projects, mean mugging everybody, you know, just going in and out of their apartment. That chick gets ran through by all of these guys that got nothing going on. They got nothing going on but them nicks and them dimes. And them 8 balls. That's all they got going on. The slowest looking fast money I've ever seen. Just a bunch of niggas standing around. Those are the guys that she chose to bend over and spread for. And then after she's had 5 kids by 8 different men, she shifts the conversation from, well, you didn't sound nigga enough. You didn't act violent enough to be a real man. And then she shifts that argument into, well, if you don't want to take care of all the kids I created, you're not a real man. Because now you're on my radar. Before you were invisible. Now you're on my radar. And now you just got to take whatever garbage I have to offer. Holy fuck. Just let that sink in. These are the experiences. These are the experiences of a lot of black men. You know, when MTR did that video, I just looked at the comments. I looked at the like to dislike ratio. These aren't people who said, you know what, MTR? I heard what you said. Now I'm going to follow that that's what happened. No, people were putting in their real life experiences in the comment section. Is anybody going to hear any of those cries? No. Here's some more shame, some more insults. And these women don't want to change their approach whatsoever. They don't want to change what they're doing whatsoever. And then what happens? They get mad after displaying all of these qualities. They go on Kevin Samuels, just let Kevin, oh yeah, I broke up with this guy. I curved that guy. Remember that 10-year period when curve was like the big slang word? And all of these women, they wore it as a badge of honor. I curved so-and-so. And I curved that one. And I curved. Yeah. You also created a lot of curves with your 300-pound frame at 5'5". And now nobody wants those curves anymore. Because your curves resemble more like a combination of Grimace and the Michelin Man. And then you want to go on Kevin Samuels and get mad at him when he says you're going to die alone. And you look at your track record and all you see is you're not man enough because you weren't ignorant enough. And then when you wake the fuck up, you're not man enough because you don't want to bail me out from the circumstances that I created for myself with my stupidity. You're not a real man if you won't take your resources that you worked hard for and just give it to me because I want it. You're not a real man. You think you're grown. You think that you've progressed in life, but your mindset is still exactly the fucking same. But, you know, maybe I'm just talking shit and don't have any fucking clue what I'm talking about. So, we're going to switch gears. There are a couple of things that I thought that were interesting that I wanted to talk about on the show. We're going to switch from one content creator and we are going to talk about another content creator. And this is where I'm going to have a little bit of trouble. I'm going to have a little bit of trouble expressing myself on this one because this one, you know, this one hurt. I'm going to set this up for you guys. We're going to talk about a rapper, a retired rapper that I really, really admired. I really did. I swear I really did admire this man. We're talking about Joe Budden. His self-titled album, that shit still bumps. One of the more underrated lyricists in terms of wordplay, cadence, flow, storytelling. He's probably top 3 all-time storytellers. Just simply because of how fucking real it was. But this is definitely, in my opinion, this definitely takes a lot of luster off of the Joe Budden shine for me. I was a big fan of the podcast. He also had the Everyday Struggle. And, you know, I'm a person that I always pay attention to patterns. So if somebody tells me so-and-so is a bad person, I'll say, well, what did they do? Oh, well, on this particular day, they did this. Okay, what else? But then, if I ask a person, well, what else happened? Oh, in this situation, I've got this receipt. In that situation, I've got that receipt. In this other situation, I've got yet another receipt. Then I'm like, damn, that's a pattern. And for me, I think I've finally gotten to the place where the pattern is out on Joe Budden. And it pains me because when I started the other show that I co-host, I got a lot of inspiration from Joe Budden, from Rory, Mal, Parks, all of those guys over there when it comes to how the chemistry works. I got a lot from them. I got a lot of inspiration from JRE, you know, the Joe Rogan Experience. I got a lot of inspiration from the Joe Budden podcast. I got a lot of inspiration from the Flagrant 2. brilliant idiots. So when Joe left, what was it, Complex? I was just like, well, he didn't feel like he was being valued the way that he deserved to be valued. It went off somewhere else and then attempted to prove that. Inks a deal with Spotify under certain terms. He didn't feel like those terms were being honored in the way that they should have been, contractually speaking. By this time, he already has Rory and Mal and Parks and all these other guys that work on the show. And he's like, I didn't ask for $250 million. I asked for information. And they refused to give me that information, even though I was promised that information. So I looked at that and I said, you know what? That's reasonable. That's reasonable. I'm going to side with Joe on that one. And then Charlemagne the God starts running his mouth about Joe Budden's business. And I'm thinking, Charlemagne, I think you're an entertaining person. But who the fuck are you to talk about another man's dealings with it? Like, who are you? Were you sitting in the room during the negotiations? Did you read the contract? Did you sign any of the contracts? Are you privy to any of the information that you're talking about? And then, because Andrew Schultz is attached to Charlemagne because they do the Brilliant Idiots podcast, then Schultz, wanting to be loyal to Charlemagne, he goes on there with Akash Singh, and they're talking shit about Joe Budden, a guy they don't know, which to me was a ding on them. There's no reason for you to be discussing Joe Budden. You don't even know the man. You never even met him. So you damn sure don't know what kind of business he's doing. So just from those things, I'm like, what's up? But then the pattern starts to reveal itself. The pattern starts to reveal itself, folks. Because Joe Budden tells Rory don't show up. And then when one of the co-hosts of the show, one of the main guys, one of the three people you see on camera besides the other two men in question, says, yo, what's going on? How are you going to tell somebody to just not show up to work? And then the response was, well, that's none of your business. The fuck? I'm putting myself out on Front Street. This is the persona that I'm putting out into the world. And you're going to tell me that asking about another person that I share a set with, and I'm wondering why is not my coworker that I work with, that part of me doing my job is interacting with that person. You're going to tell me that's none of my business? Word? The pattern starts to reveal itself. They come back to the show. I watched that from beginning to end because I just wanted to see how Joe was going to handle it. And one of the things I liked about what he did was he let those men talk. And I listened to the words he said when Mal said, is there respect there? He's like, yeah, there's respect. All right, then I'm right here. But when there's no respect, I'm gone. Now, I disagree with Mal on a lot of things. But I didn't disagree with him on this. So, an article comes by my feed. Because I've been worried so much about how I'm going to talk my shit, I haven't really been watching all of the podcasts that I enjoy. So this comes across yesterday. Joe Budden fires Rory and checks Mal on the Joe Budden podcast. Yeah, that definitely that was that's what solidified the pattern for me. I read this article here. This is, and we're not gonna go through the update, but we're gonna go through that later, because I just want to keep it to what I saw. No thanks. Stop with the pop-ups. Thank you. All you need to know about how Joe is moving in this situation is right here. This right here. In an episode of his podcast that appeared on multiple platforms Wednesday before being removed. And he didn't just remove it because he thought it was because he thought it was inappropriate and was walking it back. No, he moved it to the Patreon to get people to pay to witness this kind of drama. And Joe is talking this babble. He put it on his fucking Patreon, folks. This is not about honor. He's trying to get paid off of shitting on people that have been riding with him through a lot. When he started a Joe Budden podcast, a lot of these guys attached their professional futures to him. And while Joe was burning bridges, burning powerful links and relationships to other people, they rode with him. They spoke up on behalf of him. Whether he was right or wrong in those situations, they still rode with him. And while he's driving the car off a cliff, he then wants to kick them out of the car on the way down. Now I see the pattern. Makes it extremely difficult for me to see Joe Budden podcast pop up and then rush to click the support and hit the like button and subscribe and all that. It makes it really difficult. One of the things I really, really, really hate is when people try to decide what you think and feel for you. In this quote, it says, Rory feels like he has so many options here. Somehow he still feels like he's running the show, and he still feels like he has choices and options. He feels like he's entitled to more. Rory, you are in breach of your contract, and from this point forward, you are fired. You are not welcome back. When people were telling you what you thought and felt, what was your response, Joe? Your response was, who the fuck are you to tell me to dictate to me about me? And here you are. You're being quoted. This is a direct quote. And anybody ever heard Rory say, I'm running the show here? When you look at Rory's body language on the show, doesn't he look beta to Joe's alpha on the show? Not saying that Rory is a beta male. Don't get it twisted. But he defers to him. He knows who the pack leader is in this particular situation. Have we ever seen Rory cut Joe off and try to take the spotlight? We've seen none of these things. But we got to hear from Joe what Rory feels. You don't look good, Joe. You don't look good. Speaking for somebody else's thoughts, feelings, intentions, etc. Now, you just look like you're in some kind of you're in some sort of feminine frame right now. And that don't look good on you, Joe. That don't look good on you. It's just... Now, let's go back to that comment. Let's go back to that comment when Joe told Mal that telling Rory just, don't come in for a few episodes, that it was none of his business. This is none of your business, Mal. But then goes on to say, Budden lamented what he said was Rory and Mal's failings to bring in deals for the podcast and criticized them for allegedly having their respective reps request to see documents related to the show. Bruh! You want Mal to bring deals, business deals to you, but tell him that the podcast that he co-hosts is none of his business. Do you see how this doesn't make any sense? Criticize them for allegedly having their respective reps request to see documents related to the show. Where the fuck do you think they learned that from, Joe? They learned it from you, Joe. They saw how you handled the Spotify debacle. You said you left there not because you requested $250 million, but because you wanted to see documents related to the show. I mean, and people are calling him out on it on Twitter. Does any part of you say that maybe this whole situation needs more thought than you've given it? Because to the rest of the people out there, this looks ridiculous. Because it's ridiculous. At Mr. Schultz says, nah, you whack for this. Oh, and the best one of all, at Zola Kita says, damn, you went against everything you preach about. It's not just me. It's not just me that sees the pattern here. The original tweet, friend or not, I'm never funding someone's sabotage of me. That will never happen. I get far away from the threat. You can think peace until your face turns blue. What the fuck are you talking about? And I think that Joe knows that what he's saying makes no fucking sense. Rory's reply, because this article was updated today. Rory's tweet. Rory's tweet. How is Rory not verified on Twitter? Let's talk about that for a second. What the fuck is up with that? Man, what an era. Thank you to everyone that listened, supported, told their friends about us, bought a subscription, ticket, or merch. Any value starts and ends with y'all. I'll get to that message soon, but in the meantime, I'm here to celebrate an amazing run. Love. Look at how Rory is presenting things, and look at this weird ass shit from Joe. What more needs to be said? Rory is still using words like us. He's thanking the fans, y'all. You know, he's using inclusive. He's using inclusive language here. And all you hear from Joe is I, me. He said, she said, it's everybody else's fault except for Joe. And it makes me very conflicted because I don't live my life that way. I don't. And it's really uncomfortable to watch a band that I admire, that I respect. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult for me to resolve those things. Because I'm usually a pretty decent judge of character. So I don't get caught up in a whole lot of these situations where I'm forced to think about the ramifications of my support of anybody, content creator, musician, actor, actress, you know, who have you, what have you, personal friends. Usually don't have these kinds of issues. But this is very, very difficult for me. Because I like Joe a lot. But wow. Now, obvious disclaimer, I don't know what was going on in the room. I don't know what happens when they turn the cameras off. But there's a pattern. And that's one of the things that you can use in your life to help evade bullshit. Look for the patterns. One fuck up, two fuck ups, that's not a pattern. But if you see constant failures over an extended period of time with a unifying link with all of those failures, you have seen a pattern, you've noticed a pattern, and it's time for you to act before you get burned. I used to really go into that show. I used to watch that podcast all 1.5, 2.5, 3, sometimes 3.5 hours. I would play the whole thing all the way through. Maybe I might check in every now and again. It definitely will never be the same for me. It won't be the same. Another thing that I that came across. Another thing that came across my desk. The news desk. The talking shit desk. Is an article about Raven Johnson. Who is Raven Johnson? Raven Johnson made history as the first girl to play in a boys basketball All-American game. She's ranked number 1. The number 1 high school point guard in the country. Signed on to play for legendary coach Dawn Staley. She's a legitimate legend. Both in college basketball and in the WNBA. And I mean that relatively speaking. So they write, the Philadelphia Inquirer has this person write, this young man, to Michael Cole, has him write this article talking about Kobe Bryant. You know, you got to make sure that you mention the all too soon tragically deceased Kobe Bryant to try to add gravity. You know, the locker room featured 29 of the best boys basketball prospects out of high school. And they had to add a girl in there. Now, I was expecting to see that she carved these niggas up on the court. Is that what happened? This is I let's just look at how she did. The buzz on Saturday ticked up again when Johnson checked into the game in the second quarter. So I guess she wasn't starter level. The primary ball handler, she was pressured and forced into a couple of turnovers. But Johnson battled. She eventually made a transition pass. Speak English. She eventually made a transition pass to Brandon Huntley Hatfield, a University of Tennessee signee and Pennsylvania native. It was just out of reach of Josh Minot's fingertips and resulted in an easy dunk. So she got an assist. An offensive rebound in the third quarter led to Johnson getting an open 10-foot jumper from the corner. The crowd waited in anticipation, thinking it could be Johnson's first basket, but the shot fell short and the crowd went, ah. I feel like I did good, Johnson said. I held my ground when I was out there. The moves that they were doing, I'm definitely going to steal those and take with me. 0 for 1 from the field. What looks like 1 assist and 2 turnovers. Johnson said her top goal at the Iverson Classic was to win. They lost by 12. I'm going to go on the record and say that I really do hope that there is a woman that is good enough to actually play in the NBA and deserve the roster spot. I do want to see that. But what we've seen, especially in these high school games, is it really is, in an underhanded way, an attempt to feminize boys. I'm just going to call it exactly what the fuck it is. 2019, there was a dunk contest with these young men flying high, doing all kinds of tricks. But they gave the win to a girl because she barely rattled the ball through the hoop. Hers was the best dunk out of all of them. But we talk about equality. The things that the boys were doing were far and away more impressive. It wasn't even in the same stratosphere. The reason she's in the contest at all is because they couldn't even scrounge together other girls that could even grab the rim. You gave a roster spot in an All-America game that follows people on their resumes. You gave a roster spot that could have belonged to number 30, the 30th ranked boy in a boys tournament that would have boosted their resume. You leave him off for this. But I got to hear every day about how girls and women, so oppressed. You have a girl that has not earned a boys All-America spot. Get a boys All-America spot. With a pretty bad plus-minus resulting in a loss. And you don't know what narratives are going to come out of this in the future. You have no clue. The boy on the losing team could end up in a Carmelo versus LeBron style rivalry later on, trying to make it to the pros. But maybe the narrative changes because of that 12-point loss. Not saying that she's a bad basketball player. Don't get me twisted. I've seen a lot of girls twist up a lot of guys. There was one particular girl that carved me up a couple of times. Due in part because I didn't want to make physical contact with her body because, she's a female. And you don't want to be seen as a guy that's a foot taller slapping the ball into the stands. But I'll just call it what it is. I did get carved. I'll call it what it is. I love it when I meet a woman that plays basketball. I love to meet women that play basketball at a high level. But what I will not celebrate is somebody taking a deserved spot from one person and giving it to another. A couple of years ago, we saw who they gave Woman of the Year to. I wasn't a proponent of that either. And this is the lessons that we're teaching boys today. No matter how much you shine, take a backseat to this girl. She's not going to do as well as you do. You know, even if you don't make it to the NBA and you go into the corporate world, she may not perform as well as you. She may not work as hard as you. She may not work as many hours as you do. She may not sacrifice as much as you do. But you better celebrate her getting the promotion over you. And this is what we're calling equality, folks. You know who I blame for this? I don't blame the girls for this. Because if you look at who ran the tournament, they're talking about Steven Jackson and Allen Iverson. This is on the men. Men who didn't have to deal with having to perform 8 or 9 times better than a girl to be able to get what they deserve. Allen Iverson didn't have to go through that. Steven Jackson didn't have to go through that. Kobe Bryant didn't have to go through that. But the young boys coming up are being told, even when you are doing better than a girl, you got to take a back seat. Men, this is on you, not the women. This is on you. Could she have said, no, I'll play in the girls' All-American game? Could she have done that? Yeah, but why the fuck should she? You're giving her massive publicity. You're building up a legend that may go beyond even the best players from the University of Connecticut over the past 25, 30 years. You are turning her into a mythical figure. Why shouldn't she take advantage of that? She'd be a fucking idiot not to. So this ain't on her. She dressed up in uniform. She showed up. She did the best she could. Which was 2 turnovers and 0 for 1 from the field. It maybe had an assist. It's possible she had an assist. What did you expect was going to happen? And I'm just making you guys aware of what the fuck is going on out there. So you keep seeing stories like this, but I got to keep hearing about how horrible men are every day. And how oppressed women are every day. But we can have a boys All-American championship game, and the articles are being written about a player that went 0 for 1 with 2 turnovers in a losing effort. Does that sound like oppression to you? We're going to switch gears. And I'm going to talk about something that I am mildly excited about. Mildly. Adult Swim. I don't know how many of you know about the cartoon lineup, the late night cartoon lineup from Adult Swim. But there are some staples from the golden age, the heyday. And I am I'm a bit excited about it. Not so excited at how they're distributing it, but they got to make their money, right? 3 popular Adult Swim series are getting a feature take. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Metalocalypse, and the Venture Brothers. Go Team Venture! There's going to be a 90-day exclusive window before hitting the streaming service at Adult Swim. The streaming service being HBO Max. Shout out to HBO Max. I fucking love you, HBO Max. Do you know why I love you, HBO Max? Because you are making it possible for me not to go to the movie theater to see the movies that I want to see when they come out. You've made that possible, and I appreciate you. I'm really, really excited about this. The Metalocalypse movie, I think they had something that was kind of like a feature before, and it was kind of like a musical or whatever. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Death Clock, and I really do wish that they could work out their legal issues and continue on with more seasons of Metalocalypse. I really, really, really loved that. I wasn't as big a fan of the Venture Brothers, but I found it to be amusing. I found it to be entertaining. I didn't watch it as religiously as I watched Death Clock. You know, Death Clock in Metalocalypse. Excuse me. I mean, I watched the Metalocalypse series twice over after it left television. Yeah, I thought Venture Brothers was cool, but if they're coming out with a movie for it, I'm there for it. I was a much bigger fan of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. In meat, what? Master Shake is just that whole that. I mean, I've never been a proponent of consumption of narcotics. You do what you want to do. And I sincerely mean that. If you want to do drugs, do your thing. But one of the reasons why I felt justified in never doing drugs is because I believed that Aqua Teen Hunger Force gave me the same effect as doing drugs without actually having to do the drugs. I loved every episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And so to see that they're going to have a movie come out, I'm really, really excited. And it is another one of those shows that I hope doesn't get a reboot, but they pick it up. You know, if enough people stream it, if enough people buy the DVD, probably still not going to buy the DVD. I'm sorry. But if you could guarantee me that we could get Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Metalocalypse back on Adult Swim, I'll buy the fucking DVDs. I may never open it, but I'll buy them. So that's something that, you know, from my young adult years that helped me get through a lot of depression. You know, when I was homeless and staving off homelessness, Aqua Teen Hunger Force was there. So, you know, I'm excited to see that they're creating something. I hope it doesn't suck. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up. Tomorrow, you know, since this episode was supposed to be disseminated to you yesterday, tomorrow will be another show. So, tomorrow I'm going to talk about some of the things that happened in MMA this week. Some things I liked, some things I didn't. And we're going to look forward to UFC 262 ahead of the watch party we got going, the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. So again, if you were watching this prior to Saturday and you plan on purchasing the pay-per-view, definitely come hang out with Dr. Evil, as I will be here watching the fuck out of it and reacting to all of the exciting stuff and complaining about all the boring shit. Yeah. So, in the comments section down below, you could tell me what you think. You could sound off. You can call me a misogynist. You can call me a race traitor. You can call me a beta cuck if you want. Or you could talk about some of the things that I brought up and, let me know if you learned anything. Let me know if you disagree and why you disagree. I want to know from you why you think I have a point or why you think I'm just talking shit.